going to just hit record, so we record it. We'll see how it goes, and then if necessary, I'll move you to another part of the room.
Cool, great.
I was telling Chris, it's a different time of the day over there, isn't it, Sean?
Yep, it's evening time here, 9:30 at night.
9:30? It's hard to imagine, isn't it? So it's Thursday, but it's 9:30 at night.
Yep. Did you want to see a little bit where I am, Chris? Because I know where you are. I know your room. So this is, I'm sitting in my living room right now.
Oh.
And that's what it looks like.
There's his TV. He's got a fan.
Yep. And Kian does his drawing and whatnot down there.
Yeah.
And he plays his keyboard. And the only thing he really knows how to play is the Harry Potter theme song.
Look,
but he does play around on that keyboard a bit.
Yeah.
And then here we've got our kitchen. And we have a wood stove because that's very common in New Zealand. A lot of people use wood stove to heat their house.
Ah, yeah. My friend Joan's got a wood stove in Sutton Coldfields. So.
There you go.
They're very trendy to have the wood stoves. Did you have a good birthday?
Oh, I did. Thank you very much. It was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having a 9-year-old makes just birthdays more fun because he's so excited about it that you kind of get to pick up on some of that. So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Look at you two in matching clothes. You've got your nice check shirt on. Sean's got his nice check shirt on. Hey.
So cozy.
This is the look, isn't it? This is a nice sort of warmy feel one, yeah.
You guys are looking good. Chris, you're looking really solid, looking healthy.
Yeah. Well, he's had a seizure this morning, Sean.
Oh, well, he's bounced back in this moment anyway.
You do, don't you? It's very hard to predict. Some days, actually, he's better. You're better, rather, when you've had a seizure. And then a couple of days later, sometimes it sort of catches up. But we'll see. I mean, your pointing is a little bit erratic at the moment, isn't it? And sometimes we're having to do a lot more prompting. But we just take it each day, don't we? And whatever we need to do to help on any particular day, we just do, don't we? Yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Let me think about it. We'll just tell Sean. We were just decided again to work on the biting of the hand. Sit down. That's just an impulse. So I've left it downstairs, the one that we made. I'm just going to do a little sign. So we were talking about sort of almost the power of your subconscious. I had a little look at a YouTube talk by someone called Bruce Lipton, I think it was, Dr. Lipton. And it was about changing your subconscious beliefs and things like that, and just the power of repetition in order to do that. And one of the things that we suggested was that I'm just going to make a little sign up which says, and I don't know if this is the right wording or not, but we're having a go. Just to say, I do not bite my hand.
I like that. Yeah.
And we're going to pop this on the table. And then if Chris has the impulse to do it, whereas you've been responding really good if I remind you, well, I'm going to try just pointing to the sign and getting you, what I want you to do in your head is to say that. And the more we keep saying it, maybe it will help to stop that impulse. Because you did tell me it was an impulse when we discussed it. So we'll have that sign on the table.
Cool, very cool. Yeah, I like that. Wonder if it would be worth posting and post it as well, maybe like in the toilet or a few other commonly
places where he does it. I've got one downstairs. Yeah.
Nice. Yep.
Remember, you nearly went to do it then. So what are we going to do? You're going to say in your head, I can try saying it. Do not, bite, my, go and say it, hand. That's it, good. So just getting him to point to the words and say it in his head. And sometimes you manage to verbalise it a little bit as well, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you guys might already have considered this or talked about this, but another way that we can sort of change our behaviors is through either positive or negative reinforcement. And, you know, an example of the negative reinforcement would be like, if I catch myself doing something repetitively that I want to change, then I can in advance make up something that I have to do as a consequence that I might not necessarily want to do. Like, for example, I might say, okay, if I bite my hand, then I'm going to do 3 squats, because it's just not that pleasant doing 3 squats. It's no big deal, but it's just kind of slightly like, oh, and just subconsciously that starts to just shift how I operate internally. Sometimes without even me thinking about it, I will stop myself because I want to avoid that, the negative consequence.
Yeah, okay. So
We do
we'll have a little think about that, Chris, about what the negative consequence could be, that you can just plant that seed in your head, isn't it? To think, oh, if I do that, I'm gonna. It's a bit like the swear box, isn't it? You know, if I swear, I'm gonna have to put a pound in.
Yep. And I do it in soccer.
Yeah.
I coach the kids soccer, and we do different variations of that in training. Like, so a very simple one would be that we have to do, you know, they're little kids, so have to do 3 push-ups, for example.
Okay.
And one of the, I got that idea from some research that was done at Harvard on sports development. And just when there was some type of just physical negative consequence that players had to perform when they did not do something within a game or that they wanted to do or that they planned on doing, that their future behavior improved more than those who didn't give themselves that type of negative consequence. Now, one other thing for you guys to consider with that, which was chimpanzees that they were using in the space program in the 60s.
Yeah.
That they used positive reinforcement only, where they would give the chimps a pellet that was like a sweet tasting pellet, a food pellet snack, when they pressed the right buttons or behaved the right way as they were practicing their, you know, their capsule time in the pretend spaceship. And then because there was this competition with the Russians, they then said, okay, we have to speed up, so we're going to start doing negative reinforcements too. So they started shocking the monkeys when they pressed the wrong buttons. And what they saw was that the monkeys, they did improve, and they kind of became quicker at learning. But before, when they only had the positive reinforcement, the monkeys were like really easy to be around, and they were friendly. And once they started getting the negative reinforcement, they started like attacking and biting people.
Oh, really?
And yeah, people couldn't be around them sort of in that sort of safe way unless they were restrained anymore. So there was some real negative behavioral consequences to that, you know, that type of severe negative consequence. So when we do the negative consequence, we do it without any judgment. Just like, oh, we're just trying to help ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm just taking some notes as we're talking. Yeah, and then we can discuss this a little bit more, can't we? There. That's very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Right then, so have you got anything prepared for us today, Sean?
Yeah, I wanted to, if this seems interesting to Chris, I wanted to talk a little bit about the peculiar blindness of experts and how difficult it is, particularly for credentialed authorities, to predict the future.
So the peculiar blindness of
experts. Yep. So this is about forecasting the future and how comically bad or how difficult it is for, especially for credentialed authorities.
Okay. So I think we'll just go for it. We're talking about, what did Sean say? The peculiar, let's just see how good your pointing is today. Oh, hang on, let's just angle that a bit. So the peculiar. B, L, that's good. I, N, D, very nice. Go on, straight for the N, up for the E, and S, the peculiar blindness of experts. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to start with a bet. I'm telling you about a bet that was made between two experts. One was a Stanford biologist. His name was Paul Ehrlich, and he wrote a book called The Population Bomb.
Paul, how do you spell
Ehrlich. His name is spelled Ehrlich.
Yes, I have heard of him. And the book was?
The Population Bomb.
The Population Bomb. Okay, just for practice, I just want to see how this is going today. Just for the sake of it, really, so Sean can see some of the things that we do and that you do. He said that we're talking about a bet, and because bet's just such a small word, I thought we'd have a go at handwriting it. Okay, so now remember, if we're going to be very careful, we're going to go down, round, down, and round. Try it very small. Down, go on, and do, oh, that was a bit of a wobble. Just do the round. Oh, you're a bit more wobbly today than yesterday. Just do the, that's lovely. Now we're going to do the E, cross and round, cross and round. Sorry, I must need to, oh, look at paper, across, that's lovely. And then the T is down and across, down and across. So just motor model it first. Go on, take it down and focus in, down and, oh, that way. There we are, very nice. I don't know if you can see that, it's very, very faint.
Oh, cool, looks good.
There we go.
Yep, nice one. Nice one, Chris. So I'll tell you a little bit about the population bomb and what this Stanford biologist thought. And obviously, you know, he's a biologist, he's a professor, and he's at Stanford, which is a top university. So he's very highly regarded, this guy, at the time. And he basically believed that it was too late in 1968 to prevent a doomsday apocalypse resulting from overpopulation. So he predicted that resource shortages would cause hundreds of millions of starvation deaths within a decade. And according to his theory, it was just cold, hard math. So the human population was growing exponentially. The food supply was not. And he studied butterflies. He was an expert in butterflies, and he knew that nature did not regulate animal populations delicately. So populations would explode, they'd run out of resources, and then they'd crash. And so his simple theory was, well, look, population of humans growing exponentially, food supply not growing exponentially. So we're going to, just like in animal populations, blow past our available resource, and then there's going to be a crash in the human population.
Okay, so if you were to summarize that, Chris, how would you summarize it? Put it into your own words. You can start off with he if you like. H, E, he, E, S, A, very nice, keep it going. I, and D, he said. T, go on, go straight for it, move your arm. H, he said T-H, T-H, all right, touch that H again, H, it's a pencil, don't get stuck on it, H, now move to the next letter, he said T-H, okay, just take a break. Sometimes Chris is just freezing like this, He said TH, so I
Yep.
just have to come up with a few little strategies to try and help. Go on, TH. A, that's better. T, he said that. F, go on. That looks like O. Push for the O. Go on, give your arm a push. O, go on, and again. O, and after the O would be, he said F, O, O, it must be D. D, he said that food, let's just try this, just see if this is easier for you today. Go on. He said that food, S, that's good. U, P, P, L, Y. He said that food supply, W, go on, move your elbow. O and U and L and D, would, go on. R and U and N, O and, go on. Touch that O again. O, and next letter would be, you there, push through. U, and lift your elbow. Lift that elbow, you've got it locked. You've done the U. Next letter would be, go on, lift that elbow. 1 over, that's an S. T. Yeah, that's a good summary. He said that food supply would run out. It would not be able to keep up with the population growth. That's stitches that down. Very
Now, Chris,
nice.
your mom and I remember this guy and his book, The Population Bomb. Maybe not in detail, but it sort of was in the culture back at that time period. And there's a couple things that he said that would occur. So these are the kind of disasters that will occur. He was sure of it. And in the worst case scenario, there was famine that raged across the planet. And at the time, Russia and China and the US, particularly Russia and US, were in the Cold War. He could see the possibility with those famines of nations being dragged into a nuclear war and the resulting environmental degradation, extinguishing the human race. In his cheerful scenario, population controls would begin by the government, and there'd still be famine, and countries might teeter, but the major death waves would end in the mid-1980s, and only 500 million or so people would die of starvation. And now there's 8 billion people on the planet, more or less. I don't know, probably back then there were probably 5 billion. So he estimated 500 million of them were going to die in the best case scenario. And he challenged people to create a more optimistic scenario. And there was an economist who took him up on that bet and said, I believe that technology like water control techniques and hybridized seeds and management strategies and agriculture continuing to advance and global crop yields advancing would mean that we could achieve a sustainable future. And so he proposed a specific bet or a specific wager where this Professor Ehrlich, who wrote The Population Bomb, could choose 5 metals, like gold and silver, etc., that he believed would become more expensive as resources were depleted and as chaos ensued. And if they became more expensive, the economist would have to pay him the difference in what they currently cost. And if they became cheaper, then Ehrlich, the professor who wrote The Population Bomb, would have to pay the economist the difference. And they made that bet in 1980.
Okay. Was it just a general, just a general bet to economists or to any specific?
It was one specific economist named Julian Simon.
Sorry, Julian Simon. Okay, so let's just practice a couple of things from there to see how if we can get your pointing going again. Let's just try the word challenge. C H, go on, A L L, that's nice, much better. E N G and E, very nice. And just for the sake of it, just out of interest, just a little break from the lesson for a moment.
Yeah.
Can you think of something that is maybe a challenge, or could be a challenge to you, or a challenge in life, or a challenge to the planet? Is there anything that you'd like to that comes to mind? Oh, hang on. Get that yawn out now. Come on. Still eating breakfast as well as we.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eat your breakfast. So we're thinking about a challenge. T H E T the W O R L, and after the L, D, the world. I, and where are we? Did you want the R or the S? It were kind of between them. The world, I, go on. Keep, must finish the word. The world is F, this is good. A, C, I, N, and G. The world is facing, that was a good run. The world is facing, a bit, you've twizzled round a bit, twizzle those legs round, that's better. The world is facing C, L, I, yeah, this is good, keep it going. M, A, T, E, climate. Go on. The world is facing climate. C, H, A, lovely. Keep it going, next letter. N, G, come on, next letter. E and S. The world is facing climate changes. All right, we're not going to get you tired out just yet. The world is facing climate changes. Do you want to say any of that? That is a challenge that the world is facing today. Do you want to say any more about that now or not? Or maybe later. Okay. There. Well, we can talk about that later. Yeah, so that's a challenge that we're facing today. Now, back to the lesson. Back to the topic. Down you come.
Okay, so they made this.
I
sorry.
Do not bite my hand. See, you did a little one, but you were really good. You controlled it and you stopped it yourself. Very nice. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay, very good. So they made the bet in 1980, and it was for 10 years. It was, the bet was going to pay off for one of them in 1990, depending upon what happened. And it was for $1,000 worth of these 5 metals that they chose. And in October 1990, the economist, Julian Simon, found a check for $576 in his mailbox. So the metals had declined in price quite a bit. And the professor who wrote The Population Bomb was way off in his predictions. In the 1960s, yeah, thankfully. In the 1960s, when he was writing his book, I think he published it in '68 originally, 50 out of every 100,000 global citizens died annually from famine. And by the 1990s, that number was 2.6 people. So 50 out of 100,000 went all the way down to 2.6 out of 100,000.
Between 68 and what years were those?
That was between 1968 and 1990.
1968 and 1990. So what do you think about that, Chris? Anything to say? Yeah, try it on here. I am. Keep that, just tilt that shoulder forward and we'll use gravity to help. I am you. Keep it going. Go on. Keep moving your arm. Go on. Keep it moving. R. Keep it moving. Go on. S-U-R. Go on. P. Go on. R. Just going to do some little shakes of your arm. P-R. Where next? I would make sense. Go on then. Try it on this side again. P-R-I-S-E-D. That's better. I'm surprised. A-T at. Go on then. T-H-A-T. I'm surprised at that. I. Go on. Did so well. I. Let's write it down. Give me a break. I am surprised at that. Did you want to carry on? Yeah. I. T. H. O. U. G. H. After the H, this is good. T. Oh, look, you've got this habit of finishing before you finish a word. T, that's better. I thought F. A. M. I. N. E. I thought famine. Write that down. I'm surprised at that. I thought famine. W. Come on, come on. W. A. Was. S. Come on after the S. T. Very nice. Go on. I. Don't waste that energy. L. Come on. Was still. A. B. I. After the I, next letter. G. A big. Go on. Come on. Was still a big. It looks like you're hovering over that P. Push. Push to the P if you want it. P. And I'll hold the board close. R. And lift that. Go on. O. And B. And L. And E. And go on. Well done. I'm surprised at that. I thought famine was still a big problem. I assume that you were talking in the 90s or maybe even today. There. So bring yourself down again. That was just an impulse to stand. There. Lovely. Yeah, it is quite a dramatic reduction, isn't it, Sean? I think I'm a little bit surprised about it as well, because certainly when I was growing up, you know, I remember it was in the days when we were beginning to hear, maybe it was just because we heard more on the news about the problems in Africa and Ethiopia, and it was, in fact, it was Biafra, wasn't it? That was the name of the, was Biafra, did Biafra become Ethiopia? I can't remember. I think I'm going senile. I can't remember the names of all these places. But I remember Biafra was a really big, one of the first ones that from my sort of childhood, I remember being on the news when I was at school. You know, we were raising funds to try and help the people in Biafra. And in fact, I even remember writing a poem about it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Good memory.
Do you want to hear the poem? Just out of interest. I've still got it in my head, or I've got the first few lines in my head. And
Let's hear it.
Listen to this. There are children in Biafra who have no food to... Oh, hang on. No, I've forgotten it. I had it in my head a minute ago. There are children in Biafra with no shoe. No, there are children in... I think it was this country. No, there are children in Biafra who have no food to eat. There are children in... I can't remember now. Oh, with no shoes upon their feet. There are still some kids in England who have no clothes to wear. So I ask you, all you people, do you really care? I care. Oh, it's coming back now. I care enough to say that's bad. I care enough to feel quite sad. I care enough to turn away and give some cash another day. That was it.
Brilliant. Very good. That's amazing that you can remember that.
Just the first bit I couldn't remember properly, but I remember that the sort of the main bit. I loved that. I thought that ending was brilliant. Isn't it funny the way your memories are triggered there? So that was a little digression. Did you like my poem? Y-E. Yes. Oh, thank you. I'll try and remember it properly and write it out for you. There. Anyway, carry on, Sean.
That's cool. Hey, while we're digressing, I will just briefly say one of the things that's been a nice surprise around the population stuff that's not in this lesson, but is that in the Western world, especially, you know, we've seen populations sort of really come down, and the only area of the world where they're still exploding is in sub-Saharan Africa. And the decrease in population, whether it is in in Italy or in the UK or Japan or the US or a Middle Eastern country, is correlated with the education levels of women. When you have women who are more highly educated and who enter into the workforce, the rate of kids, the number of kids that they have goes down dramatically. So if you want to deal with population, deal with women's education.
Yeah. So just for a little bit of something different to do, we'll just if population goes down, and we could draw a little arrow for down. Population goes down, and we'll just put a point on the end because you were doing so well. Put that point, so we need to go down and then back up to the side. There. Population goes down as a result of education. We'll just do an E because we did an E before, didn't we, as well? Just practice doing the letter E. We go across and round, across and round, across. Oh, That was a bit long one there. Oh, you're getting a bit impulsive. Let's just go do it again. Cross and round for the E. Cross and round. Okay, that'll do. That was a good try. Yeah, so just did a little arrow in an E. There.
Cool. Okay. I like these sidetracks.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've done the bet. That's basically that bet between those two was an example of two experts, you know, trying to forecast the future. And so now we're going to talk about forecasting generally.
Okay.
So in the 30 years since Elric sent Simon a check, isn't that a little trippy, Sue, that 1990 was 30 years ago?
Oh, don't. I still think it was yesterday.
So the track record of expert forecasters in science, in economics, and politics is as dismal as ever. In
okay,
business,
just stop a little bit. Track record.
Yep.
Hang on. Dismal. Just quickly, in terms of forecasting, Chris, give me an example of where you hear forecasts. You know, where you've come across forecasts. Any example where you hear forecasts? W. Yeah. E. A. T. H. E. And oh yeah, in Britain we're obsessed with weather forecasts. I don't know whether it's the same in every country, but after every single news bulletin, there's always the weather forecast, and then they do the weather forecast in detail for your region. And are they normally right? Are they normally right? What do you think? No, they're often wrong as well. Often dismally wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not. So this area of forecasting is pretty tricky, isn't it? It really is. In every sort of field of life, really.
Yes, certainly. I thought there was some interesting insights about it in what we're discussing here. So reliable insight into the future is possible. However, it requires a certain style of thinking that's uncommon among experts who have deep knowledge in their field.
Okay, so write that. Reliable style of thinking. Reliable forecasting requires a style of thinking which is uncommon in experts. Yeah.
Yep.
If we just summarize. Okay. And come back down again to make it. Oh, bring your body down. That's it. There. Just for the sake of it, reliable. Oh. I do. Go on, try it. Not. And okay, finish. Bite and my and hand. Yes. There. And you controlled it very nicely. There. We were just going to practice the word reliable. R E L I A. Go on. B. Go on. L E. And something about reliable. Reliable. I. Just anything. Any thoughts about the word reliable? I. T. Could be IT or it could be it. Go on, carry on. IT. W. O. U. L. D. It would. Is that B? Come on, carry on. We'll work it out. It would, I think it was B. It could have been C. B, E. It would be, go on. It would be, go on. G. G. R. The O. Look, read it and say it. Read it and say it. Good. It would be G. I think you did G. Go on. Just go from there. Go from it would be. It would be. I think you did G. Sometimes I lose track. G. Go on. R. E. A. So like I said yesterday, I'm going to stop your hand going up to that mouth. T. It would be great because it's a waste of energy. I. To the I. Go on. If. M. Go on. If where are you going? Touch the M again. Let's get you going. If M. Use the pencil. Great. If M and write that one down. It would be great if I know sometimes your arm just freezes, but we would just give it a little break and then carry on. Get that thought out. It would be great if M Y. Oh, that was good. B O D and Y. If my body. Just remember. Be great if my body, W, A, was all, oh yes, God, it's a good point. E, L, I, A, B, lovely, after the B, L, and all the way over it must be E, touch it. It would be great if my body was reliable. That was a very interesting thing to say. Be great if my body was reliable. Did you want to add anything else to that, or is that it for now? D, O, do, Y, come on. O, keep it going. Y, O. Do you? K, N, come on. K, N, keep it going. O, W, do you? You read that while I write it down. Do you know H O W how H A R D how hard I do you know how hard it could be I or it could be it, I don't know. Go on. How hard I go on. Lift your arm. Lift let's finish this. I want to know what you want to say. How hard? Do the I again. I, H, A, B, E. How hard I have. Go on. This is really good. T, O, 2. Go on. Go on. W. Go on. W, W, O, and R, and K, and how hard I have to work. T, and O, 2. Go on. Do you know how hard I have to work? Go on, let's get this thought out. M and O and B and E and M and Y and B and O and D and go on after the D. That's it, you're down there. Y to move my body. Do you know how hard I have to work to move my body? You can tell me more or finish with this sentence. More or finish? Finish. Okay, lovely. It would be great if my body was reliable. Do you know how hard I have to work to move my body? Sean?
Incredible. You know what I thought of, Chris, when you were sharing that was how your dad does triathlons, you know, where he cycles such a long way and then he swims such a long way and he runs such a long way. And he, you know, to do a triathlon, you have to be so persistent with using your body, and you have to try really hard and you have to do it repetitively again and again to build up the capacity. And so maybe it runs in your family because your mom also in running a program, and having people in the team and keeping them trained and inspired, and you know, keeping lesson plans coming and Bob coming, and just kind of, you know, my sister's a teacher and I see her burning out with her teaching job. And so it really does take, you know, not that your mom's burning out, but it really does take a certain type of like persistence and focus to make something happen, like a successful program like your mom has made happen. And now you, who are their son, are also working really hard, trying incredibly hard. You're like a world-class triathlete, a world-class program person, but you're coming at it from a different angle. It's really super cool. I'm just, you know, I'm glad that I'm be able to be a little bit in your life, and I'm inspired by seeing you in action.
It is amazing, and I do appreciate, Chris, as well, how hard it is for you some days. But I also appreciate, like Sean says, how you do keep trying all the time. I know we give you lots of encouragement, but you know, you go along with us, don't you? And you keep trying and persisting, and that's the best thing to do, isn't it? The best way to be in life, I think. There's no point just giving up and getting depressed. Keep persisting and improving.
Yes, indeed. And actually, Chris, you might be somebody who potentially could be quite good at forecasting the future, if you were a part of a team and putting your mind on that, because you have some of the qualities that work well in people who can forecast the future.
Oh yes, I want to hear more about this, because we're running short on time here, aren't we? But so let's hear more about this in the lesson. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you a little background first. So there's a very important study in this area of expert predictions that started in the mid 80s, 1984. There was a meeting for the National Research Council which was this committee on the Cold War and American-Soviet relations. And there was a psychologist there and a political scientist. His name was Philip Tetlock. And he was a very junior member of the committee, and he was listening very closely to the other members as they discussed Soviet intentions and American policies. And they were renowned experts who he was listening to, and they were delivering very authoritative predictions. And what struck him was how many of them contradicted one another, and they seemed to be impervious to counter arguments. So he decided to put these predictions of these people to the test, and he collected forecasts from 284 highly educated experts who averaged more than 12 years of experience in their specialties. So hundreds of experts, 284 exactly, years of experience, at least 12 years of experience or more. And he collected all their predictions on the probability of future events. And a lot of them were around, the Soviet and American relationships, which is a big deal during the Cold War. Was there going to be war again? Was there going to be a nuclear conflict? Who was going to win? Was the world going to go communist, or was the world going to go capitalist democratic, And so what he discovered, that the experts were by and large horrific forecasters. Their years of specialty and experience and access to classified information made no difference. They were bad at short-term forecasting and bad at long-term forecasting. When experts declared future events were impossible or nearly impossible, 15% of them occurred nonetheless. When they declared something to be a sure thing, like 100% certain, more than a quarter of those things failed to happen. So this kind of gave some really grounded, lots of data insights into expert forecasters, at least in this political field, and how poor they were at forecasting. So I'll continue.
Yeah.
Yep. So there is one subgroup of scholars who did manage to see what was coming, which was the demise of the Soviet Union. And what was interesting about those experts was they were not vested in a single discipline. So they often had a couple of different certifications or degrees. They weren't the renowned expert just in one area. And they took from different arguments and integrated them. And they agreed that Gorbachev was a real lost legitimacy out of Russia, and several of them saw the end of the Soviet Union was very close at hand. So he calls these people integrators. So they outperformed their colleagues who were specialists in pretty much every way, but especially in long-term predictions.
Okay. So
one last sentence. Sorry. So he borrowed from a philosopher, Isaiah Berlin, on what he observed about experts, that the highly specialized hedgehogs who dove very deeply into something, they knew one big thing, while the integrator foxes knew many little things. And the foxes were much better at forecasting.
Okay, so he likened he sort of split these people into two groups, which were likened to animals. So the integrators were likened to F, O, X, E, and the S. Finish with the S. Make sure you always finish the word. Go on, touch the S. Boxes. A and D. Oh, the other animal was H, E, D, G, E, hedge, H, finish it, hedge, go for the O, O, that's what you want, G and the S, down for the S. The other animal was, the other animals were hedgehogs, so we've got foxes, and hedgehogs. And which ones were the best at forecasting? Was it the foxes, the integrator foxes, or was it the specialized hedgehogs? You can tell me just F or G or H. Yeah, the foxes were the best. So Sean said that he saw some of the qualities of the people who were better at forecasting in you. Why do you think that might be? Why might that be? I, A, am, N, go on, O, T, I am not, A, just move your legs around so we're in the rest position. I am not A, N, E, and X, and P, and E, and come on, R, and T, and I, and N, and go on, O, and N, and go on, E in one, F, and next letter would be, go on, push, I, and E, and L, and finish the word, D. I am not an expert in one field. Yeah.
Yes.
Not. And hold it. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it and read it. Hold it and read it. While I write this down. I am not an expert in one field. Sean, I'm looking at the time. Are you all right to run over a little bit, or have you got?
I'm okay to run over for a little bit. Yep, it's okay with you guys.
Yeah, go on then. We'll just, yeah.
Cool. So this is really cool. So in 2005, they did this big experiment with the Intelligence Advanced Research Project Activity, which is a government organization that's U.S. intelligent, and it looks at U.S. intelligence community's most difficult challenges. And so they had a 4-year prediction tournament, and they had most of the teams that were experts, and then they had a team that this psychologist recruited that were the small group of foxiest forecasters. So they were bright people with extremely wide-ranging interests, unusually expansive reading habits, but no particular relevant background. And they went up against the experts and they destroyed them. And these people were described as curious about, well, everything. And they crossed disciplines, and they've also viewed their teammates as sources for learning rather than peers to be convinced. And when they were in teams, the most effective team seemed to be a team of about 12 people. They became even more accurate because they could resource one another, and they were much more willing to change their mind with new data than the experts.
Very interesting. Any thoughts on that? I, T. Is that I? It is. G. O. Go on. O. It is good. It's good. T and is that O? Yeah. Good too. It is good to. There we are. Try with the pencil. Good to A and L and W and A and Y and S. It's good to always B and E and O and after the O, go on. P and E and N. It's good to always be open. T and O and go on, let's just keep this going. T and go on. H and lift your elbow, go on. Lift your elbow, you've got it locked. E, always good to be open to the D and yeah, you're there. Looks like you look at you just hovering over. Go on, push. I and E and go on. Keep it going. Finish your word. W and S. I'm gonna write that down. It is always good to be open to the views. Good. There you go. To the views. Go on, we just finished this. You're doing so well. To the views. O and F and is that N or O? Come on. O and T and H and E and go on. R and S. It is always good to be open to the views of others. Yeah, I agree with you there. You know, if I ever want to try and work something out or, you know, think about something, come up with a solution, it's much better if you can talk to someone else. And sometimes it's just even a case of bouncing your own ideas off someone else. Just really helps, doesn't it? I agree with that.
So this also sort of made me think a little bit about, you know, experts who you hear culturally or politicians as well who have ideas about things. And it says, you know, during the 20-year study, when an outcome took the foxes by surprise, they were much more likely to adjust and change their ideas, whereas hedgehogs barely budged. In fact, when their authoritative predictions turned out to be wildly wrong, they often updated their theories in the wrong direction and became even more convinced of their original beliefs. It's fascinating.
God. Amazing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it really is.
Yeah. Oh, that was really good, Sean. I don't know if you've got any more there, but I think we're sort of, that's enough for today, I think, for that lesson, isn't it? Did you enjoy that, Chris? Why, good. E. Yes. I. D. Okay. I. Yes, I did. Thank you. Yes, I did. Very nice. Okay, you have a little stretch of your legs, and I'll just have a quick chat with Sean, if I may. That was great, Sean. Thank you.